The title of my project is Another One Fights the Dust. I wanted a project title that would be catchy but also made sense with my project. My title is a spin-off of the song title, Another One Bites the Dust by Queen. I chose to change bites to fights because my project was about microfiber cloths and to seeing if microfiber cloths could actually clean as well as chemicals could. Last year, we started using microfiber cloths very often in my household. I wanted to see if microfiber cloths could actually clean as well as chemicals could because I was very skeptical. I've also always been interested in the way that chemicals could kill bacteria and how that worked. For my procedure, I first prepared my agar one day in advance. So I filled my petri dishes halfway with agar and let it harden overnight. Once hardened, I swabbed the surface with a damp cotton swab. Then swabbed the surface after using a damp microfiber cloth to clean it, a Lysol wipe, Clorox disinfectant spray, and all-purpose spray. I cleaned the surface in different sections so that the surface would not be cleaned multiple times by the time I swabbed after using the last cleaner. I repeated the steps for all 6 of my surfaces, and then checked my petri dishes daily for bacteria growth for the next 15 days. The Lysol wipes ended up cleaning the best, with about 40% of the petri dishes being covered in bacteria. Then the microfiber cloths were a close second, with about 50% of the petri dishes being covered in bacteria. The Clorox method both had very varied results, and there was no consistency throughout them. I also tested with glow germs after to see if I had consistent results. I used the same cleaners, and the Lysol wipes and microfiber cloths ended up doing very similar jobs to before and cleaned the best. The Clorox method again had very varied results, and my results were consistent throughout the 2 tests. I think that my results would be very helpful in places such as healthcare facilities where people's immune systems are already down, and chemicals could be harmful to their bodies. Obviously, they would not be too helpful in places where people are at high risk, because they might not be the most reliable source, but they would be helpful in more common areas of places such as hospitals. Housekeeping companies are another place where I think that microfiber cloths would be helpful because surfaces are being cleaned multiple times a day with harsh chemicals when they could be just cleaned once be cleaned multiple times a day with a microfiber cloth, which is less harmful for the surfaces. Schools are another place where I think that microfiber cloths would be helpful because kids are touching the surfaces and touching their faces, especially currently when the surfaces are being cleaned multiple times a day. And microfiber cloths could be a good way to avoid young children being exposed to more chemicals harsh chemicals than they already are. The most difficult part of my project was probably finding information about microfiber cloths. Microfiber cloths only began to become popular about 8 to 10 years ago, so it was hard to find information about them. But the way I overcame that was digging deeper into those few websites that I kept on being brought back to and researching more about how chemicals worked and about viruses, germs, and bacteria. It was also difficult for me to wait for my bacteria to grow because it took about 7 to 8 days for me to have visible bacteria growth on my petri dishes, but the way I overcame that was just being patient. To extend my research, I think you could test more surfaces to see consistency throughout different surfaces and throughout the cleaners on different surfaces, and using different microfiber cloths brands are something that I think would be interesting to see if there would have been a better option for me to clean with for my test. And also experimenting with more cleaners to compare to the microfiber cloths, such as all-purpose natural cleaners. I think those would be interesting to clean with because microfiber cloths are a natural cleaner, and the method spray that I use claimed to be natural but ended up not cleaning too well. So to see if there's a good option that is a natural cleaner but also a spray, not just a cloth. I use the scientific method in my project by first asking the question, are microfiber cloths actually capable of cleaning as well as chemicals can? I hypothesized that microfiber cloths would clean the best, and I experimented with bacteria growth and glow germs for my experimenting. I then gathered the data from both my experiments and used the approximate percentages, 0%, 20%, 40%, 80%, and 100%, to estimate how much bacteria and glow germs were remaining after cleaning. I came to the conclusion that Lysol wipes can clean the best out of the products I used, but that microfiber cloths are a sustainable option. What I enjoyed about doing my project was probably learning about microfiber cloths. I found that super interesting, and that was something that I hadn't really known about before. Also, having the opportunity to do such a big project was pretty cool because I got to learn so many things about myself and what worked for me and what didn't work and how to stay on top of such a big project. also experimenting with bacteria growth was something I found super interesting, and I'm super happy that I got to have that experience and to learn about how to experiment like that.